Welcome to Last Word, the Ink and Quill podcast from Ink and Quill Press. I'm Jan Abel, but that is not important. We got a guest with us today. Guest, introduce yourself. I need a name, some pronouns, the numbers on the back of your credit card, your favorite gas station, just whatever you want to share.
Hi, I'm LeAnne Withrow. My favorite gas station is obviously the Come and Go, and 8675309 is the back of my credit card, and we'll go with she, her.
I just heard the 867, and I was like, please do not actually say any numbers. And then you continued, and I was like, oh, okay, she's a millennial. It's fine.
Yes,
Yes.
just a little old, that's all.
Yeah. I feel like people will crucify me if I say millennials are old. All right, so tell me about your book or your books. Is it just Rain in October right now?
So I've actually got two books out. I've got Emperor's Shadow, which is a traditional sort of high fantasy, Tolkien-esque George R.R. Martin type, sword and sorcery type deal. But the title that I am most excited about is definitely Rain in October. Came out just a few months ago, October of 2024. It is spicy. It is my first foray into sort of open door romance fantasy.
What's open door?
Open door. So it's explicit. No fade to black in this particular book.
The door is open. Sure. Okay, that's okay.
Yes.
I'd never heard that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, I think that's another old lady thing, I guess.
My lady door is open. Yes.
Exactly.
So this is, I mean, because I'm going to be so for real. I haven't read it yet. It's on my bookshelf, but it's like Fae, car breaks down, castle. Did I get some of it?
Yeah, so the state that I hate most in this country is Oklahoma, so I set it there.
Of course.
And made it as gay as possible, basically. So it is the antithesis of Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
There's some fae, there's some witchcraft, there's some sapphic romance. I just kind of tried to make sure it was going to get banned, essentially, in the state where it's set.
I mean, isn't that everyone's dream?
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. It is, I think, frankly, if you're not getting your book banned these days, you're probably not writing an interesting enough book.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the story essentially follows a college dropout who, for mental health reasons, is leaving Texas A&M in her junior year, headed back home, tail between her legs, to Tennessee. She gets caught in a summer storm in Oklahoma and winds up washed off the road. And she wakes up in a mysterious, gorgeous mansion with only one other occupant and this mysterious, slightly older woman that sort of rescues her. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so the tension sort of builds at first, and it sort of is paired with this arc of strange things going on. The main character is not sure if that's sort of her mental illness. She's currently unmedicated, or if it's like really something happening. And it turns out that it's a little bit of both. So things get witchy. But it's also a really nice opportunity to dig into the reality of certain disorders that I have experience with.
Mm-hmm.
I have a dissociative disorder. I have bipolar. So I've been in the under-medicated and unmedicated stages, and you just don't get a lot of sort of real representation from people with mental health issues of mental health. It's always sort of this, like, manic pixie dream girl or like fetishized or whatever, so I didn't want that. I wanted healthy boundaries and communication about something that's very serious and really deeply impacts people's lives. So
we love to see it.
Yeah, I just it felt like it was missing from the genre, and I thought, I am a lesbian who's got mental health struggles and I feel valid, so my main character can have that too. So.
Nice. All right, well, this is a little bit of a lighter question after that. That was a good answer, by the way. I feel like I need to say that. But if your book, if Rain in October, we'll stick with that one. If Rain in October had a theme song, what do you think it would be?
It's gonna have to be San Cristobal.
Ooh.
which is a song. Oh God, who sings San Cristobal? Um, Let me think. It's by Mal Bloom, I want to say. But it's just such a great it's such a great track,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sort of this like heaven is a place on earth meets um, you know,
Nice.
lost love type thing.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. I think that's what it was.
And so,
Um,
on top of obviously being a writer, you're in charge of a lot of the content stuff that we do here at Ink and Quill. What do you think is the biggest misconception about writing a book?
I think the biggest misconception is that there's only one sort of way to do it, or that there's like a specific process that has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I got into writing, I was definitely wrapped around the axle on this idea that like I'm supposed to do a draft, and then I'm supposed to go back through the draft and wind up with another draft, and then this will happen 15 times, and then um, I'll get feedback. It will be crushing. I'll do another draft. I'll scrap whole sections. And that's just not the way it works for me. My process is basically I write it one time from start to finish. I don't jump around. I don't pick like my favorite parts to go work on. I don't work in islands like a lot of people do, it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
But I really had this idea that I was doing it wrong somehow because I wasn't doing what I had seen in movies and TV or heard on, the internet. So I think that's a big misconception. I think whatever process works for you is the right process,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and people get too tore about how they're supposed to be doing this and they don't just do it. So,
Yeah, and that goes really good into my next question. What's a piece of advice that you'd give to people in that writing, editing, publishing kind of phase or process?
I would say best piece of advice I can give you is I'll do two because I can't help myself. So the first is don't be surprised if you hate reading your own stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
Um, for me, it's like writing is a compulsion, and it's almost like a poison. Like I've got to get it out of my body. I've got to just like spit this out, and I don't generally prefer to read my own works. I much prefer to read other books written by people that I'm inspired by. Mercedes Lackey or Raymond Feist or whatever. I want to read their books. I want to read people that I feel like write these fantastic novels.
Mm-hmm.
And I get kind of turned off on my own writing. So that's one. Don't let that be you. Understand that oftentimes we've already heard the story 1,000 times inside ourselves. So don't be surprised if you're not like constantly rereading your own stuff. And the other thing I would say is get it written first.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be worried about it being perfect. Don't be worried about is there going to be criticism or am I going to find plot holes later when I'm editing? You will, and there will be. Don't worry about it. Get the thing written first. You can't edit it until it's on paper. You can't find those plot holes until you've got it out in its entirety, and then you can say, okay, now what do I need to potentially tweak? Whose opinion do I trust to tell me if this sounds stupid or not?
Mm-hmm.
But just get it out there. Just put it down on paper first and figure out the rest later.
Yeah, I like that. All right, well, what is next for you? Any exciting projects that you want to tease?
Yeah, so the Weather Witch series. So Rain in October is the first, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But Snow in November will be coming out this November.
Nice.
And if all goes according to plan, despite the weather getting colder, it will be even hotter than the first installment. So
Is that the tagline?
that's the game plan. It might as well be, We'll see if I can keep the snow from melting off the pages. So.
Oh my god. All right, I think we are just about out of time, so thanks again to LeAnne for joining me. This has been Last Word, the Ink and Quill podcast. As always, our authors get the last word.
Velicor is the last word I'm going with.
But I get the last laugh. Ha!